Which forgotten side dishes no one makes anymore once rounded out every family dinner and potluck table. In the kitchens of the 1960s, 1970s, and 1980s, these side dishes carried flavor, comfort, and tradition that made meals feel whole. What does it say that so many have quietly vanished? Watergate salad. Number 1 takes us straight into political controversy, the Watergate salad. This wasn't just any dessert salad, it was named after the scandal that brought down a presidency. Born in 1975 during the height of Watergate fever, this emerald green concoction became the ultimate conversation starter at dinner parties nationwide. Hostesses across America embraced this pistachio pudding creation as their secret weapon for memorable 1970s food entertaining with retro cooking magic. The preparation was pure vintage recipes wizardry. Instant pistachio pudding mixed with Cool Whip, crushed pineapple, mini marshmallows, and chopped nuts. The mixture transformed into a fluffy, cloud-like consistency that held its shape beautifully. The pistachio flavor provided an unusual, sophisticated taste that was both familiar and exotic. This salad represented the era's love affair with convenience foods while maintaining an air of elegance. Served at bridge clubs and church socials, it symbolized modern hostessing. Today's artisanal dessert culture could learn from this perfectly balanced, sweet and nutty combination that required zero baking skills. Cranberry Jell-O mold. Number 2 brings us to the crown jewel of 1970s entertaining. The Cranberry Jell-O mold, a shimmering ruby tower that commanded respect at every holiday table. This wasn't just cranberry sauce's fancy cousin, it was the ultimate status symbol of the organized hostess. Perfected during the mid-1970s health food movement, it combined convenience with perceived nutrition, making busy mothers feel sophisticated and health-conscious while preserving forgotten recipes from 1970s comfort food culture. Creating this masterpiece required precision timing, dissolving cherry or cranberry Jell-O in boiling water, adding whole cranberry sauce, diced celery, chopped walnuts, and sometimes cream cheese for marbling effects. The mixture was poured into ornate bundt molds and chilled until firm. The unmolding process was pure theater. One wrong move could destroy hours of work. This dish elevated the humble cranberry to centerpiece status, turning every meal into a special occasion. The tart, sweet flavor profile cleansed palates between rich holiday courses. Modern entertaining has abandoned the drama of molded salads, but the visual impact remains unmatched. Shrimp cocktail ring. Number 3 brings us into elegant presentation. Shrimp cocktail ring, the circular seafood masterpiece that transformed simple shrimp into impressive centerpieces through architectural food arrangement and dramatic visual impact. This wasn't just shrimp and cocktail sauce, it was edible sculpture. The 1970s obsession with presentation found perfect expression in ring molds, where ordinary ingredients became extraordinary through careful arrangement, creating memorable food history moments and childhood memories of special occasions from American history. The preparation required poaching large shrimp perfectly, then arranging them in ring molds with gelatin-based mixtures that held the shape while providing complementary flavors. Some versions used clear gelatin, while others incorporated tomato or seafood flavors. The unmolded rings were garnished with cocktail sauce, lemon wedges, and fresh herbs. This creation represented the democratization of restaurant presentation in home kitchens. It provided impressive appetizers that suggested professional catering while remaining achievable for dedicated home cooks. Modern appetizer presentations favor individual portions over architectural arrangements, but the visual impact of properly constructed shrimp cocktail rings remains unmatched for special occasions. Cheese ball. Number 4 rolls us into the ultimate party centerpiece, The cheese ball, a spherical sensation that dominated every 1970s appetizer table with its herb-crusted perfection. The cheese ball phenomenon peaked in 1974, becoming the unofficial mascot of suburban entertaining, reflecting the America we remember. Every hostess had her secret recipe, and stealing someone's cheese ball technique was considered serious social warfare in neighborhood circles, showcasing old-school cooking traditions and 1970s nostalgia. Master crafters combined cream cheese, sharp cheddar, and blue cheese until smooth, then added Worcestershire sauce, garlic powder, and chopped onions. The mixture was shaped into a perfect sphere and rolled in chopped pecans, parsley, or paprika. Some adventurous cooks created multiple smaller balls or experimented with different coatings like crushed crackers or bacon bits. This appetizer solved the eternal party problem: how to feed a crowd elegantly without breaking the bank. Surrounded by crackers and vegetables, it encouraged mingling while providing substantial flavor. Modern charcuterie boards owe their success to the cheese ball's pioneering approach to interactive, shareable appetizers that bring people together around food. Pimento cheese spread. Number 5 spreads us into southern sophistication. Pimento cheese spread, the velvety orange mixture that transformed simple crackers into elegant hors d'oeuvres across America. While pimento cheese existed earlier, the 1970s elevated it from regional specialty to national dinner party staple. Northern hostesses discovered this southern secret and made it their own, adapting recipes for cocktail party elegance through tasty history and celebrating food history with vintage cookbook recipes. The authentic preparation required grating sharp cheddar cheese by hand, no pre-shredded shortcuts allowed. The cheese was mixed with mayonnaise, diced pimentos, and a touch of cayenne pepper until achieving a smooth, spreadable consistency. Some recipes included cream cheese for extra richness or Worcestershire sauce for depth. The mixture aged overnight, allowing flavors to meld into creamy perfection. This spread represented cross-cultural culinary exchange as Southern traditions moved nationwide. Served with water crackers or stuffed into celery, it bridged casual and formal entertaining. Today's artisanal cheese movement has rediscovered pimento cheese's complexity, though few achieved the perfect balance of the 1970s masters. Stuffed celery. Number 6 crunches us into elegant simplicity. Stuffed celery, the architectural appetizer that transformed humble vegetables into sophisticated finger foods worthy of the finest cocktail parties. This wasn't just vegetables and dip, it was edible art. The 1970s health movement embraced celery as the perfect low-calorie vessel for rich, flavorful fillings, creating guilt-free indulgence for weight-conscious partygoers through retro side dishes that became classic Southern dishes adapted nationwide for 1970s dinner table sophistication. Preparation required selecting perfect celery stalks, no strings, no brown spots, crisp enough to stand upright. The stalks were trimmed, washed, and filled with various mixtures: cream cheese blended with herbs, pimento cheese, chicken salad, or the ever-popular combination of cream cheese, blue cheese, and chopped walnuts. Each piece was cut into uniform lengths and arranged like soldiers on crystal serving plates. This appetizer represented the era's obsession with presentation and portion control. It provided textural contrast and fresh flavor to balance richer party foods. Modern crudité platters lack the intentionality and elegance of properly stuffed celery, which required both planning and presentation skills. Squash casserole. Number 7 bakes us into comfort food heaven. Squash casserole, the golden, bubbling side dish that transformed summer's humble yellow squash into a crowd-pleasing masterpiece. Born from Southern tradition, but adopted nationwide during the 1970s fresh vegetable movement, this casserole became the bridge between healthy eating and comfort food indulgence. Church potlucks and family reunions elevated it to legendary status, creating memory lane foods through heritage cooking traditions and lost recipes preservation. The preparation began with slicing tender yellow squash and slow cooking with onions until soft. The mixture was combined with sour cream, beaten eggs, and shredded cheese, then topped with buttered breadcrumbs or crushed crackers. Baked until golden and bubbling, it emerged from the oven with a crispy top and creamy interior that converted even vegetable skeptics. This dish solved the eternal problem of using abundant summer squash while creating something special enough for company. The mild squash flavor allowed the cheese and seasonings to shine. Today's farm-to-table movement has rediscovered the genius of transforming simple seasonal vegetables into memorable side dishes that complement any main course. Sweet potato souffle. Number 8 lifts us into culinary elegance. Sweet potato souffle, the cloud-like creation that transformed dense root vegetables into airy, sophisticated side dishes worthy of the finest dinner parties. This wasn't just mashed sweet potatoes, it was kitchen chemistry. The 1970s embrace of French cooking techniques brought souffle mastery to American home kitchens, with sweet potatoes providing a uniquely American twist on European elegance through home-style meals and vintage food culture celebrating golden age of food techniques. The preparation demanded precision. Roasted sweet potatoes were peeled and riced until perfectly smooth, then combined with butter, egg yolks, brown sugar, and spices. Separately, egg whites were whipped to stiff peaks and carefully folded in to maintain maximum volume. The mixture was baked in buttered dishes until puffed and golden, creating dramatic height that impressed dinner guests. This dish elevated humble sweet potatoes to gourmet status while showcasing the cook's technical skills. The light texture contrasted beautifully with dense holiday meats. Modern cooking has largely abandoned the souffle's temperamental nature, though the combination of technique and flavor remains unmatched for special occasions. Rice pilaf. Number 9 transports us to exotic sophistication. Rice pilaf, the buttery, aromatic side dish that brought Middle Eastern mystique to American dinner tables during the era's cultural awakening. The 1970s fascination with international cuisine made rice pilaf the perfect bridge between familiar and exotic. This wasn't just rice, it was culinary adventure disguised as comfort food, appealing to adventurous cooks seeking sophistication through past traditions and traditional American food adaptation from international 1970s food influences. Traditional preparation began with sautéing rice in butter until golden, creating nutty depth impossible with boiled rice. Chicken broth was added gradually, along with onions, herbs, and sometimes toasted almonds or pine nuts. The rice absorbed flavors while cooking, emerging fluffy and separate, each grain perfectly distinct. Saffron added golden color and exotic aroma for special occasions. This dish represented the era's growing culinary curiosity while remaining accessible to home cooks. It elevated simple meals and complemented both casual and formal dining. Today's rice dishes rarely achieve the careful balance of flavor and texture that made 1970s rice pilaf a reliable dinner party success story. Ratatouille. Number 10 simmers us into rustic elegance. Ratatouille, the colorful French vegetable stew that captured American hearts during the decade's romance with European peasant cooking and fresh vegetables. Julia Child's influence peaked in the mid-1970s, making Ratatouille the ultimate expression of sophisticated simplicity. This wasn't just mixed vegetables, it was edible art that transformed garden abundance into restaurant-worthy presentations through retro cooking methods and vintage recipes, showcasing forgotten recipes mastery. Proper preparation required patience. Eggplant, zucchini, Bell peppers, tomatoes, and onions were carefully diced and cooked separately to preserve individual flavors and textures. Garlic, herb de Provence, and olive oil unified the components during slow simmering. The final dish showcased each vegetable while creating harmonious flavors impossible to achieve through simple mixing. This dish represented the growing appreciation for seasonal, fresh ingredients and European cooking techniques. It provided elegant vegetarian options when meat dominated most menus. Modern farm-to-table cuisine owes much to Ratatouille's pioneering approach to celebrating individual vegetables while creating unified, sophisticated flavors that elevated simple ingredients to gourmet status. Stuffed mushrooms. Number 11 caps us with savory perfection. Stuffed mushrooms, the elegant bite-sized appetizers that transformed ordinary fungi into sophisticated party centerpieces, bursting with herb-infused breadcrumb filling. The mushroom stuffing craze peaked in 1976 when creative hostesses discovered these natural vessels could hold virtually any mixture while maintaining elegant presentation. Every dinner party featured at least one variation, creating friendly competition among neighborhood entertainers, celebrating 1970s, comfort food innovation, and food history evolution. Preparation began with selecting large, firm mushroom caps and removing stems carefully to create perfect bowls. Stems were chopped and sautéed with onions, garlic, and herbs, then combined with breadcrumbs, cheese, and sometimes Italian sausage or crab meat. The mixture was mounded into caps and baked until golden and bubbling. These appetizers solved multiple entertaining challenges. They were elegant enough for formal parties, substantial enough to satisfy hungry guests, and could be prepared hours ahead. The earthy mushroom flavor complemented rich fillings perfectly. Modern appetizer culture has moved toward simpler preparations, but stuffed mushrooms remain the gold standard for impressive finger foods that actually taste as good as they look. Glazed carrots. Number 12 sweetens our journey. Glazed carrots, the glossy golden vegetables that transformed humble roots into candy-like side dishes that made children actually request seconds. The 1970s health movement promoted fresh vegetables, but glazed carrots proved healthy could also be irresistible. This preparation elevated carrots from afterthought to centerpiece, creating vegetable dishes worthy of special occasions while maintaining nutritional integrity through childhood memories of family dinners reflecting American history and the America we remember. The technique required young, tender carrots cut into uniform pieces for even cooking. They were simmered in butter with brown sugar, honey, and a touch of salt until tender but still firm. The final glaze was created by reducing the cooking liquid until it coated each carrot piece with glossy sweetness. Fresh herbs like parsley or thyme added color and sophistication. This dish represented the perfect balance between health consciousness and flavor satisfaction. It proved vegetables could be both nutritious and delicious without elaborate preparation or exotic ingredients. Today's roasted vegetable trend rarely achieves the perfect balance of sweetness and texture that made 1970s glazed carrots a reliable crowd pleaser at family dinners. Stuffed tomatoes. Number 13 fills us with summer elegance. Stuffed tomatoes, the hollowed-out beauties packed with seasoned rice, herbs, and cheese that turned garden abundance into impressive presentation pieces. Peak tomato season in the 1970s meant creative hostesses needed elegant ways to showcase their bounty. Stuffed tomatoes became the ultimate expression of seasonal cooking, transforming simple ingredients into restaurant-worthy presentations for dinner parties and luncheons through old-school cooking techniques and 1970s nostalgia for garden-to-table tasty history. The preparation began with selecting large, firm tomatoes and carefully hollowing them out, saving the pulp for the filling. The filling combined cooked rice, diced tomato pulp, onions, herbs, and cheese, seasoned with salt, pepper, and sometimes Worcestershire sauce. The mixture was mounded into tomato shells and baked until the tomatoes were tender but still held their shape. This dish represented the growing appreciation for fresh, seasonal ingredients while providing elegant vegetarian options. It showcased the cook's ability to transform simple garden vegetables into sophisticated presentations. Modern stuffed vegetables rarely match the careful balance of flavors and presentation that made 1970s stuffed tomatoes a summer entertaining staple. Zucchini fritters. Number 14 fries us into golden perfection. Zucchini fritters, the crispy, savory pancakes that solved every gardener's late summer dilemma while creating addictive side dishes that disappeared faster than they could be made. The 1970s Victory Garden movement produced abundant zucchini, creating the need for creative preparations beyond simple slicing. Fritters became the ultimate solution, transforming overwhelming harvests into coveted party appetizers that guests actually fought over through food history innovation and vintage cookbook recipes celebrating retro side dishes. Preparation required grating fresh zucchini and salting it to remove excess moisture, a crucial step that prevented soggy fritters. The drained zucchini was mixed with eggs, flour, grated onion, and fresh herbs, creating a batter that held together while frying. Small portions were pan-fried until golden and crispy, creating contrast between the tender interior and crunchy exterior. These fritters represented practical cooking at its finest, solving real problems while creating something genuinely delicious. They proved that humble vegetables could become party favorites with proper technique. Today's vegetable preparations rarely achieve the addictive quality that made zucchini fritters disappear from platters before guests could grab seconds. Deviled eggs with paprika. Number 15 devils us with classic perfection. Deviled eggs with paprika, the sulphurous angels of appetizer tables that combined creamy comfort with elegant presentation in perfect bite-sized packages. While deviled eggs existed long before the 1970s, this decade perfected their presentation and elevated them from picnic food to dinner party staples. The addition of paprika wasn't just garnish. It was the finishing touch that transformed simple eggs into sophisticated hors d'oeuvres, celebrating classic Southern dishes tradition and 1970s dinner table elegance through memory lane foods. Master preparation required perfectly hard-boiled eggs with centered yolks and smooth whites. Yolks were carefully removed and mixed with mayonnaise, mustard, and seasoning until achieving silky consistency. The mixture was piped or spooned back into whites, then dusted with sweet paprika for color contrast and subtle flavor enhancement. These appetizers represented accessible elegance, impressive presentation using ingredients every household maintained. They provided protein-rich options when party foods leaned heavily toward carbohydrates and provided familiar comfort in sophisticated settings. Modern appetizer trends favor more exotic options, but deviled eggs remain the gold standard for combining simplicity, elegance, and universal appeal in one perfect bite. Spinach dip in a bread bowl. Number 16 bowls us over with interactive elegance. Spinach dip in a bread bowl, the edible serving vessel that revolutionized party appetizers by combining container and food into one memorable Instagram-worthy presentation. This wasn't just spinach dip, it was dinner theater. The 1970s love affair with interactive dining found perfect expression in bread bowls, where the serving dish became part of the meal, creating zero waste and maximum wow factor for impressed party guests through heritage cooking innovation and lost recipes, revivals celebrating home-style meals. The preparation required selecting a large, round sourdough loaf and carefully hollowing it out, creating a bowl while preserving structural integrity. The spinach dip combined cooked spinach, sour cream, mayonnaise, dried soup mix, and water chestnuts for crunch. The mixture was heated and served warm in the bread bowl, surrounded by torn bread pieces and raw vegetables. This creation solved multiple entertaining problems. It was a conversation starter, required minimal serving pieces, and provided substantial food in elegant presentation. Guests loved the interactive element of eating the bowl. Modern entertaining has largely abandoned this theatrical approach, though Instagram has rediscovered the visual appeal of edible serving vessels. 7-layer salad. Number 17 layers us into architectural perfection. 7-layer salad, the transparent masterpiece that showcased ingredient diversity while creating stunning visual impact in glass bowls that revealed every colorful stratum. This wasn't just mixed salad, it was edible geology. The 1970s obsession with presentation found perfect expression in layered salads, where each ingredient maintained its identity while contributing to a greater whole, much like the era's social movements through vintage food culture and golden age of food presentation celebrating past traditions. Proper construction required a large glass bowl to showcase the layers: lettuce, peas, onions, hard-boiled eggs, bacon, cheese, and mayonnaise dressing. Each layer was carefully spread to maintain distinct boundaries, creating rainbow-like visual impact. The salad was chilled overnight, allowing flavors to meld while maintaining structural integrity. This dish represented the era's love of make-ahead entertaining and visual drama. It provided substantial food while serving as table decoration, eliminating the need for additional centerpieces. Today's salad presentations favor mixing overlayering, but the visual impact of properly constructed 7-layer salad remains unmatched for special occasions requiring memorable presentations. Cheese puffs, gougères. Number 18 puffs us into French sophistication. Cheese puffs, or gougères, the airy golden pastries that brought Parisian bakery elegance to American cocktail parties through the magic of choux pastry mastery. The 1970s French cooking revolution, led by Julia Child's influence, made these challenging pastries accessible to home cooks seeking to impress. These weren't just cheese crackers, they were technical achievements that showcased serious culinary skills while providing elegant appetizers through traditional American food adaptation and 1970s food sophistication, celebrating retro cooking mastery. The preparation required mastering choux pastry, water, butter, and flour cooked into paste, then cooled and beaten with eggs until achieving proper consistency. Grated Gruyere cheese was folded in before piping small mounds onto baking sheets. The pastries puffed dramatically in hot ovens, creating hollow interiors and golden exteriors with intense cheese flavor. These puffs represented the democratization of French cuisine, allowing home cooks to create restaurant-quality appetizers. They elevated cocktail parties and provided conversation starters about culinary technique. Modern appetizers rarely require such technical skill, but properly made gougères remain the ultimate expression of combining impressive technique with irresistible flavor in sophisticated presentations. Cottage cheese Jell-O salad. Back in the 1950s, if you didn't have a molded salad shimmering on your dinner table, you weren't really hosting. Cottage cheese Jell-O salad was the crown jewel of gelatin cuisine, combining lime or lemon Jell-O with cottage cheese, chopped celery, and sometimes pineapple chunks. The mixture was poured into ring molds and chilled until it achieved that perfect wobble that made hostesses proud. This dish represented everything about mid-century entertaining. It was make-ahead convenient, visually impressive, and used modern processed ingredients that symbolized prosperity. The creamy cottage cheese created interesting textures against the smooth gelatin, while the celery added a satisfying crunch. Many recipes called for mayonnaise or whipped cream to be folded in, creating layers of flavor that were both refreshing and substantial. Today's health-conscious cooks might wrinkle their noses at the sugar content, but back then, this salad was considered a virtuous choice, packed with protein and calcium. Celery Victor, named after the chef Victor Hertzler of San Francisco's St. Francis Hotel, Celery Victor was the sophisticated side dish that brought restaurant elegance to home dining rooms. This wasn't just chopped celery in a salad, it was whole celery hearts, braised until tender, then chilled and dressed with a vinaigrette that often included anchovy paste and capers. The dish required technique and timing. The celery had to be cooked just until tender while maintaining its structure, then properly chilled to absorb the complex flavors of the dressing. Many recipes called for the celery to be tied with kitchen twine during cooking to maintain its shape. The final presentation was stunning. Pale green celery hearts fanned out on a platter, glistening with oil and vinegar, often garnished with hard-boiled eggs or pimento strips. This was fine dining at home, requiring both skill and patience that modern cooks rarely invest in vegetable preparation. Potato puff bake. Potato puff bake was the elegant answer to everyday mashed potatoes, combining cooked potatoes with eggs and cream to create a light, airy casserole that puffed beautifully in the oven. This dish required technique and timing to achieve the perfect texture, creamy on the inside with a golden, slightly crispy exterior. The secret to perfect potato puffs was using the right type of potatoes and properly preparing them. The potatoes were typically boiled until very tender, then mashed while still hot and combined with butter, cream, and beaten eggs. The mixture needed to be smooth and free of lumps, then seasoned carefully with salt, pepper, and sometimes herbs. The casserole was baked in a hot oven until it puffed up and turned golden brown, creating a dramatic presentation that impressed guests. Many recipes called for piping the mixture through a pastry bag to create individual servings or decorative shapes. This was the kind of side dish that appeared at formal dinners and holiday meals, proving that potatoes could be elegant and sophisticated. Mock oyster casserole. During times when oysters were expensive or unavailable, resourceful cooks created mock oyster casserole using eggplant as the star ingredient. The eggplant was diced and seasoned with herbs, breadcrumbs, and sometimes a touch of seafood seasoning to mimic the briny flavor of real oysters. The result was a savory casserole that satisfied cravings for something rich and oceanic. This dish showcased the ingenuity of American home cooks who could transform humble vegetables into something special. The eggplant was typically salted and drained to remove bitterness, then combined with onions, celery, and plenty of butter. Some recipes included hard-boiled eggs or even a small amount of canned oysters to enhance the seafood flavor. The casserole was baked until golden and bubbly, creating a texture that was surprisingly similar to traditional oyster dressing. It was particularly popular in inland areas where fresh seafood was scarce, but the desire for coastal flavors remained strong. Golden Glow Carrot Salad. Golden Glow carrot salad was the sunshine on Depression-era tables, combining grated carrots with gelatin to create a molded salad that was both nutritious and visually stunning. The carrots were typically mixed with crushed pineapple and suspended in orange or lemon gelatin, creating a dish that glowed like liquid gold when unmolded. This salad represented the ingenuity of home cooks who could make healthy eating appealing and attractive. The carrots provided essential vitamins and minerals, while the pineapple added sweetness and tropical flair. The gelatin not only helped the salad hold its shape, but also made it feel more substantial and special. Many recipes included chopped nuts or coconut for additional texture and flavor. The salad was typically molded in decorative shapes and served on lettuce leaves, often garnished with additional pineapple or a dollop of mayonnaise. The sweet-tangy flavor combination was refreshing and different, offering a healthy alternative to heavier side dishes. Sour cream noodle bake. Sour cream noodle bake was the comfort food casserole that brought Eastern European flavors to American kitchens. Wide egg noodles were combined with sour cream, cottage cheese, and seasonings, then baked until golden and bubbly. The result was a rich, creamy side dish that complemented everything from roast beef to fried chicken. This dish represented the melting pot of American cuisine, combining traditional European techniques with readily available American ingredients. The noodles were typically cooked until just tender, then combined with a mixture of sour cream, cottage cheese, and eggs to create a custard-like base. Many recipes included onions, herbs, or even a touch of paprika for additional flavor. The casserole was baked until the top was golden and the center was set, creating a dish that was both comforting and sophisticated. This was the kind of side dish that appeared at potluck dinners and family gatherings, proving that simple ingredients could create something truly special. Buttered parsley potatoes. Before loaded baked potatoes and fancy potato gratins, buttered parsley potatoes were the epitome of elegant simplicity. Small new potatoes were boiled until tender, then tossed with butter and fresh parsley, creating a side dish that was both rustic and refined. The key was using the right potatoes and not overcooking them. The beauty of this dish was in its restraint. The potatoes were typically left whole or cut into uniform pieces, then cooked in salted water until they were tender but still held their shape. The butter was added while the potatoes were still hot, allowing it to melt and coat each piece evenly. Fresh parsley was essential. Dried simply couldn't provide the bright, fresh flavor that made this dish special. Some cooks added a touch of garlic or lemon juice, but the classic version relied on the quality of its few ingredients. This was the kind of side dish that appeared at formal dinners and holiday meals, proving that sometimes the simplest preparations are the most memorable. Scalloped cabbage bake. Cabbage was the workhorse vegetable of American kitchens, and scalloped cabbage bake elevated this humble ingredient to company-worthy status. Layers of thinly sliced cabbage were alternated with a creamy sauce, often made with milk, flour, and butter, then baked until tender and golden. The result was a comforting side dish that transformed cabbage from peasant food to something elegant. The key to success was properly preparing the cabbage. It needed to be sliced thin enough to cook evenly, but thick enough to maintain some texture. Many recipes called for pre-cooking the cabbage briefly to remove excess moisture and bitterness. The cream sauce was crucial, often flavored with herbs like thyme or sage, and sometimes enriched with cheese. The top was typically finished with breadcrumbs and extra butter, creating a golden crust that contrasted beautifully with the creamy interior. This dish proved that with proper technique, even the most basic vegetables could become something memorable. Tomato aspic with celery and olives. Tomato aspic with celery and olives was the sophisticated savory gelatin dish that graced elegant dinner tables throughout the mid-20th century. This molded salad combined tomato juice with unflavored gelatin, then enhanced it with diced celery, olives, and sometimes hard-boiled eggs for a complex, satisfying side dish. Creating perfect tomato aspic required skill and attention to detail. The tomato juice needed to be properly seasoned with herbs, onion, and sometimes a touch of Worcestershire sauce to create a flavorful base. The gelatin had to be dissolved completely and combined at the right temperature to ensure proper setting. The vegetables needed to be diced uniformly and added at the right moment to prevent them from sinking or floating. Many recipes called for layering different ingredients to create visual interest when sliced. The finished aspic was typically garnished with mayonnaise and fresh herbs, creating a presentation that was both beautiful and delicious. This was the kind of dish that impressed guests and made hostesses feel accomplished.